Hey everyone, how's it going? So welcome back to Reel Up My Park from Scratch. Welcome back to Raygate Lake. This is episode number 4. And so if you've been following the series so far, you'll know that we've already built the ticket entrance area. We've built all of the shops and the facilities and the amenities in the immediate entrance area. And in the last episode, we built this lovely little Eurofighter. And I needed to do that in that order because I needed to understand the spacing and where things are going to sit in the grand scheme of things. And so that's why we sort of jumped from the area to an actual ride. But in this episode, what I'd like to do is focus on the car park, focus on the entrance strategy, the coach car park, and this bit here, finishing off this area in the middle, which is going to be our backstage area. It's going to be where all of our maintenance is going to happen for off season. If we're going to have an office space, we need to kit out the offices. We need to kit out all of the maintenance warehouses. I don't know if all of the insides are going to be kitted out yet, or if they're just going to be facsimiles of warehouses. I don't know yet. I definitely want to do at least one, so that we can keep that realism in mind. But I don't know how far I want to go with it, because we're going to need to save piece counts and everything for later on down the line. So I'm going to see how it's all going to fit together later on when it all starts to be built. So if you're new to it, thank you so much for coming along. If you want to know about future episodes, then you know what to do. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and you'll get notified of when everything's going to be updated. And you are all very welcome along on this ride. Absolutely loving doing this series. I'm loving this whole idea of building a super realistic park from scratch, as opposed to using blueprints where we add some realism and everything. And it's lovely to see that the community is really behind this idea. So thank you so much for all of your support. I really do mean it. And so if you're new to the episodes and you've skipped straight to episode 4, then this is our park that we've got so far. It's a park called Raygate Lake, and here's our ticket area that we've built. The ticket areas have all got internal office spaces and everything, so if you're wanting to go and see how we put those together, then episodes 1 to 3 will show you how to do that. On this side we've got our I still love this shop, our box office where you get all of your stuff, your annual passes and everything. And then we moved across into this area here with your gift shop and your guest services and everything, and the roller coaster quite nicely in the background. So like I say, it's a British theme park, so we're dealing with this idea of very British realism. It's a theme park that would have a medium to high budget, so we're thinking along the lines of something like maybe Thorpe Park, maybe Drayton Manor, that kind of theme, that kind of put together, that setup. And so, like I say, this is what I want to do for this episode. We need an entry and exit strategy for here, so I left this intentionally for episode 1 and 2, and I think now's the time to tidy this up and start to draw together all of this area so that we can start to then develop the park around this way. We need to put the lake in because it's called Raygate Lake, so there needs to be a lake in here at some point. But we need to get this bit done, because at the moment, when you're looking at the rides and the coasters and everything from the background, it's all placeholder artwork, and it just doesn't. The sightline just doesn't feel right, so I think we need to get this finished so that we know how it's going to sit on the landscape. I want to do Carpark Strategy of coming in this way, park all of your cars all along here, and then you exit out this way, come around the corner into some kind of pay gate barriers. So here in the UK, you'd pay on exit rather than pay on entry. So you'd come round and you'd pay on exit, and then it comes back this way, and you come out here. You'd hit either some kind of a roundabout or some kind of junction here, and then over this way, you'd have your coach car parking area, your drop-off zone and everything. So this is what I want to get in this episode anyway. So without further ado, I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm going to get straight into the build, and here we go with the first update. Alright, so it's time for your update, and I say this in a lot of updates when I say that it doesn't look like a lot has changed, but under the surface a lot has changed, and this is going to be another one of those updates. And that's because there's been a lot of configuration work that's gone into this car park. I've had to think about car widths and distance between lines and like flow of traffic and where it's going to go and backup of traffic and how I'm going to safely get pedestrians from the car park to the entrance and how there's going to be collision points, and so all of that has had to be taken into account. But a result of a day's worth of work, an entire day's worth of work, is that I've got a detail needed car park on the top flank of the park and a detail needed car park on the right flank or the bottom flank of the park, and they serve two different purposes. So you have just your normal generic mainstream cars and traffic and everything in this top car park here, and then you have your more bespoke priority parking, disabled parking, drop-off areas, coaches, and what will be a bus stop as well along this side. And I've wanted to strip those two car parks out so that you're, again, same principle of your guest flow management, where you're wanting to strip out the guests and make them go in different directions as quickly as possible. The same is true with traffic. But you've also then got this merge point down here, which is going to be really the only conflict point that you've got. And so with that, we then have to consider the time of day that traffic would be hitting. And so in the morning, you've got primarily all of your traffic heading towards the car park, and they can bypass this roundabout just through this little slip lane here, so they can just carry on and not be interacting with the roundabout. And then on the way home, this is going to be really your only backup point. So the park may consider to use traffic lights on this part of the roundabout if it was too much, but that's why you use lighter traffic along here. So priority parking, disabled parking, and your coaches, where you're going to have fewer vehicles using this car park, so that they're not going to be causing a backup here in your roundabout. A random fact, by the way, for those of you that don't know, and I'm surprised if you wouldn't know, but in the UK we drive on the left-hand side, hence the reason why we've got all of this here. And legend has it, back in the day when we did all of our combat on horse-drawn vehicles, or we had like knights on horses and stuff, a lot of the knights and everything and the fighters were all right-handed. So they'd carry their swords with the right hand, and so if you were on the left-hand side of a road, you could quite easily engage in combat with an enemy from the left-hand side of the road, because you're already using your strong dominant arm. And actually, it's also the same reason that if you go to one of our castles and you go up a spiral staircase, they spiral round anti-clockwise. Same principle. It's so that the defenders, who are right arm predominant, can just easily make an attack because their right arm is free, whereas if you've got somebody that's running up the staircase, they are also right-handed. They are at a handicap because their arm is next to the wall. And so as a result, we've ended up driving on the left for all of our lives. So it's quite difficult for me to get my head around the principle of driving on the right and doing parks that way. So I always stick to left-hand driving. And so what I've done here with this guest flow is I've taken it from the left-hand side. You're bypassing the roundabout completely, and you come into the car park. You've got 2 lanes of traffic, and essentially you could use your 2 lanes here as well if you wanted to, on busy roads or busy days. And then it comes through, and then it just opens up into a free-for-all, choose your own lane. I would imagine you would have somebody directing traffic at some point at this area, directing people down lanes, and then you just come in and you park down at a car parking space. And then when you're done for the day, you then reverse out your parking space, and then you come right down this way, and then you come round into the toll booths. And I've put the parking spaces on an angle because this is easier than it requires less space between the parking spaces if you have them at a 45-degree angle. And our parking spaces in the UK have to be a certain width and a certain length as well. But in Planet Coaster, we're dealing with a slightly different scale. So I've worked to the Planet Coaster scale as opposed to the UK scale. And these are just 4 meters. 4 meters in width. No, sorry. Yeah, 4 meters in width and 4 meters in length. They're essentially square, but they look rectangle. It's weird. Or is it 6? No. It's 4 and 4. And so, yeah, you put them on an angle, just because you can reverse it in and out at an angle, and you need less space between them, so you can fit more spaces into a car park space. And then when you're done, you drive all the way down, so you've got your direction arrows pointing you in the right direction. And then I need to do this top bit. I don't know whether I'm going to do an overflow car park and stuff here yet. I'm going to leave that for the park to develop. And then you turn right, and you come around in a big loop. And then you enter what's essentially the strip ways. So you go get in lane. So you just choose a lane, and then you have road markings that says have your ticket ready. This would be used for things like bespoke drop up and pick up. So if you wanted to leave family members along the side of the road, go back and get your car, go back and pick them up along the side of the road, then you could do that. This is what this is for. And then you carry on driving, and you would essentially form traffic queues all along here, just to sort of get out. And then you would have your barriers that would be your parking tickets. So we've got the parking tickets in the box office and around the park and everything. This is where you would then show them. So I've just pulled together a really simple unit. It's got a touch screen, it's got a pin pad if you need to pay, it's got the ability to override and open the barriers if you need to, and then just an arrow on it just to go, hey, come forward this way. I'm going to fight with the autosave again. And then you've just got your road markings down on the floor as well to mark out where to stop, and then you've got bollards that separate the traffic into individual lanes, and then you've just got your fences and your barriers and everything that are just there to split it apart. You've also got our little parking booth as well. There's not really a lot you'd find in here. This would be a really basic shack that would just have enough technology and enough stuff in it just to function, spare passes and tills to take payments and stuff. This wouldn't necessarily be a kitted out office. You wouldn't find a computer, you wouldn't find desks or anything like that. It's just really simple. And then you'd come down this way back towards the roundabout. Again, you're using 2 lanes worth of traffic to get people out, so that you're not backing traffic up where possible. And they would then all come round the roundabout. I've made this a mini roundabout as well. So in the UK, we've got 2 types of roundabouts. You can either have a curbed roundabout, which is raised up and it forces traffic to go around it, a bit like a traffic circle in America. And then we also have mini roundabouts, and they're essentially painted onto the ground so that you can have traffic flowing over the top. And that's the idea of this, is that at the end of the day, rather than forcing your traffic to slow down, go around the roundabout and then come back again, you can just allow them to drive over the roundabout, and they just drive over and it's done and they're out. And then you've also got this road down here. It's just a 2-way road, so it's not going to be carrying as much traffic, but it's wide enough to carry the coaches, so it's ever so slightly wider than the lanes that you see here. And so they would come all the way down this way, and then you've got road markings on the road just to tell you which way to go. So you've got your drop off and disabled down the left hand side here. You've got coaches and priority that's down this side, and then your priority and coaches then split off again, and then you just got massive signs on the floor to say here's your priority parking, here's your coach parking, and then all of your disabled signs all along here. And then you come up to the top and you've got the drop off, and then you have the same principle. So you're going around in a big loop from the left to right, so you come around this way, and I've left this bit intentionally blank. This is like a turning circle, particularly when you've got coaches that need a lot of space to turn around. So they would, same principle, come out of an angled space, an angled bay, reverse down, and then reverse around in a big circle. So you leave this intentionally clear. They would then drive down this way, down this way, down this way, down this way, and then they would hit the 2-way road here. So I just need to put some road signs and stuff in just to identify that this is now 2-way and stuff. So that's going to come as part of the detailing phase. This is just more the configuring phase. And then they come back down to the roundabout, and then they can exit quite happily through the left-hand side down this way. So I've also thought about safety as well, so guest safety or anywhere that there's an impact risk with vehicles. I've just put the bollards up to stop cars from actually being able to drive into crowds. So you've got some here. You've also got some here as well. And you wouldn't necessarily need any along here because this is a load and offload point. So if anywhere, I'd probably put some here, just to make sure that we're keeping it clear. But all along here for disabled access and everything, you don't want to be blocking any ways, because you need wheelchair access and accessibility, and you don't want to put obstacles in the way of these people, because they need, they're already struggling, they're already having a hard time getting to your park and get around the park. So the principle is to make it as easy as it possibly can be for these guests to enjoy their day. So don't put any obstacles and everything in place. And then you drop off. It's just a drop off, so I probably might put some bollards along here, and then that's about it actually. The other thing that I've just started to do is just to plan out the maintenance area. So I had already put down the asphalt down here just to make it an area, and then I've started to think about the access point, and what I wanted to have is the ability for the lorries and the vans and everything to come down this way, and then these bollards would lower out of season so that they could then just turn around and swing in this way. And then at the top end, I've also just put another exit point that's only just about wide enough for a van, and they can come out and they can come back onto the main road, or they could, if they so wished, especially out of season, they could drive along the path. So that's why this path is wide and it's separated from the road and everything. So the van would essentially come out of this maintenance bay, turn right out of the maintenance bay, and then come along the path, and then you can access the coaster back of house bit here. So I need to do a load of detailing along here. I need to put the vegetation and making sure that it's all looking good. But I'm happy with the layout now. I'm happy with how it's coming about. It just needs decoration and it needs some more formal signage. Need to just tidy up the asphalt painting as well. So this is all like painted terrain. You can see there's some bits on here that just need a bit of touch up. But I think my next bit that I'm going to be working on is going to be the back of house area here, starting to get the warehouses and everything done, so that's then going to take shape on the skyline, and that's then going to determine what vegetation I need all along here to try and hide it and everything. So, and then this office space as well, decorate the office. So that's what I'm going to do next, and that'll be the next update. Do you know, I absolutely love putting all of these teasers all over Facebook and everything, because you guys as a community are just so awesome at reacting and so awesome at giving constructive feedback and saying that you like it and praising it and everything. And even though it's all work in progress, it still seems to impress everybody. And now I get a chance to talk through how it's built and how it's all put together. I like that. This is what's making this series so enjoyable to do, is that you guys, without even knowing it, are feeding into how the park is coming together because of your interactions and everything that you have elsewhere. And now I get a chance, like I say, to actually show you around. So I've got an update for you, and this is a whole day's worth of work. It's just so much that's gone into it, and it's starting to like really drag the depths of my imagination to draw some of these things out. I've done no more to the car park, I've done no more to the train station, I've done no more over this side. This is just literally maintenance area and an office area that we've got here. So let's start with from the gate, shall we? So like I say, this needs all of its fine details doing. So this is all of the preliminary work before the final update stuff. The next bit is going to be the train station, and then I'll do a pass and do all of the detailing across all of the car park, all of the maintenance areas and everything. So the idea of this area is it's supposed to be where a lot of the stuff for the park happens. This is the maintenance areas, it's the storage areas, it's the office space, it's right at the front of the park. It's hidden out of the way of everything. It's more accessible to the main road and everything. So this is like where big lorries and stuff would come. And I've broken up the maintenance areas into a few different categories, into a few different buildings. So we've got a retail building here, we've got an engineers building here, and then I've got two buildings that I'm going to intentionally and deliberately keep spare, because we don't know what the park's going to happen, what's going to happen with the park. We don't know what's going to be here. So I'm going to deliberately leave these two as empty warehouses for now, but you would imagine this would be an area to store parts of rides during the out of season, because it's a big old space. And this would be, or maybe this actually could be a utilities building. You might find all of the electricity substations and power and water and stuff in here. And then this might be another like maintenance area for out of season. So let's hold on to the thoughts of these two. I'm going to keep them empty, but I have done these two. So we've got a retail space. And this is quite common with parks, where you have a big maintenance building, almost a warehouse building that's been put in place, and you have storage for things like gifts, and maybe sometimes food, but mainly gifts and signage and clutter and stuff. You know, like all of your A-board signs and your pallets of stuff all in here. But then you also have an office space as well, and the office space would be specifically your retail workers that would work in merchandising. So they would be the ones that would be designing the posters, they'd be the ones that would be ordering all of the stock, making sure that the park is fully stocked as and when it's needed and everything. And so that's what I've done here. It's just another office space that's been put together. The building itself is a cookie cutter, so you have three of the same layout, and that's pretty much what a park would do. They would just order the prefab buildings in batch and just go, I want that one there, and that one there, plop and place, and then just tailor the inside. So with this one, what they've done is they've put in a partition window just to give it that sort of segregation from the actual main warehouse building, but it's kitted out quite nicely as an office, but it would have no ceiling to it, so it would be almost like an open air building, if you like. Obviously this is going to have a roof, but it wouldn't have a ceiling to the actual office space itself. And so this is just set up in the same way that I've done all of the other offices. You've got filing cabinets, you've got shelves, you've got computers, and those computers have all got phones and desks and chairs and bins and all of that sort of stuff. I need to do some finer detailing on here. There's some bits that are missing, like desks and whatever, clutter, almost. And then over in this other side as well, you've just got a bit of a refreshment space, storage space. You've got your photocopier, and then over here you've just got a coffee machine and just some stuff around, and the famous mop bucket. And then in the actual warehouse itself, you just got all of your clutter, all of your boxes that have been done, a couple of bins, a few pallet trucks. You know, you imagine this would be a mess. There's going to be no order to it at all. It's going to be used as storage. It's going to be all sorts of stuff you're going to find that you're going to find in here. I've just put some ductwork along here as well, as if it was an aircon unit. And ours in our parks are yellow, so that's why this is yellow. And then I've just made sure that I've supported it from the ceiling. So it's almost like a suspension bridge, if you imagine how that works. It's supported from the ceiling in multiple places. In this exact manner. So that's what I've done here. And then you've got skylights, so you'd have a metal clad roof all along here, and then you've just got some skylights that you're going to be able to look in and let the light in. And I've made sure that I've kept a couple of skylights over the office area as well, just to bring some natural light in, particularly as the only window that this office space would have is here. So you need some sort of natural light flowing into the building. So we'll see what that looks like when we put the roof on anyway. And then we come over to our other warehouse building, and this is going to be demonstrating exactly what I've been telling you about the out of season maintenance. You know, when the inspector comes in for the insurance and all of the rides are laid out in individual pieces and they're in individual lines. And this is what this is doing. So obviously we don't have a B&M, and all of these would actually be broken down into their individual components. So you would have an actual seat that would be on its own. You'd have all of the bolts that would sit around here. They would all be in a line. You would have this headrest bit would all be in a line. You'd have the over-shoulder restraints. They would be separated and they would be in a line. So you get the picture, right? Obviously, I can't do that because this is a TMTK item that's actually really, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful item. Whoever did this is absolutely stunning work. So I've just done that as a representation here, that you've got all of these like poles or pipes almost laid out as if this was something that's come off of the train. Then you've got your I-beams. You might imagine that's come off of the train. Some stuff that have got bolts and everything all laid out. The signage from the ride area, they might be doing the new signage, and this has now got to be inspected for insurance purposes rather than doing it on site. They'll do it in this maintenance shed. And then so you imagine that in outside of season, when the park's not operating, this building will be full of stuff and parts. And that's why I wanted to keep maybe this one free as well for that purpose, that you're going to dismantle all of your rides right across the park, and they live in these two warehouses out of season. They get repaired and replaced and put back together in this area and then shipped back out into the park. And then this building over here, I've decided to have a flat roof. I wanted to keep it flat roof because of the sight line from the other side. If it's a pitched roof, it just raises it ever so slightly. I wanted to give it a flat roof. I wanted it to be a bit of a variation as well. That and the fact that these three are cookie cutters and this would be a separate one just gives it a bit of something different to look at. But similar concept. You've got your windows at the front. You've got your garage door almost along the front here, which is your van access. And then you just come into this massive warehouse space. But this is slightly lower in the sense of the ceiling. So this is why the aircon units are slightly lower. So we'd need to consider what we would use in here, what we'd put in here, because you don't really have much clearance. So again, it might just be a storage warehouse. Think of the likes of Amazon or one of the supermarkets that we might have, where they just have huge warehouses with loads and loads and loads of boxes. So that's the principle there. And then I've also done this little office space as well. So I've continued the theme that we had in here. So we've just got this lovely blue and the wood effect, and this light blue and white pillars and beams and everything. I've just added some clutter. So I realised, or I remembered, that in some of our offices we've actually got some of the waxworks from museums. And I liked that idea of having this around as like this vintage stuff, especially as we're using the vintage posters quite a lot. So you now come out into the actual office space. So your staff would come out and greet their guests. They'd go through the main entrance point here, and then you would come into this like communal social space. So you've just got everything that you need to make teas, coffees, and food and everything. I just need to find ways of maybe putting a sink in, and maybe putting some more like cooking stuff. You might have a microwave and stuff in here, so I need to see if I can get that from somewhere. But this would be like a communal space that you can come and prepare food, and you can come and chill out. And I've made it like quite modern. I've given this modern sort of effect with a swoopy, swooshy style worktops. It comes together quite nicely actually, and then the grey on the walls as well just gives it that sort of a dull effect, but it brings out the orange of the writing here, and then the mirrors, so it just gives that area purpose really. And then you just got some seats and whatever in this area as well. Again, it's that grey with some colour dabbed in. It gives it that very modern, contemporary look and feel to it. This pure accident came about because I needed a solution to the floor, because the building isn't a complete straight line. It goes off in a dog leg, and so if I were to do that, I'd have either a gap here, or I would have to put this floor on an angle, diagonal angle, and the lines didn't match up, and I don't like doing that. So this is essentially hiding a join in the floor. So, but it works out really well. I quite like the fact that it's that sort of, again, it's that contemporary bar feel. And then I've just brought across the panelling as well, just to give it that consistent look. And then you've just got an office space at the back here. The people would just walk past, and then they would come out into the main yard here, and then your access to the park through there. And then you've also got as well office space in here. So this is very loosely based on my real office. This is the office that I actually work in. In my actual job. Very similar layout, but obviously with quite a few creative liberties taken in place. Like my office is a lot smaller than this, but it's a very similar layout. And you'd have a meeting table in the middle. Again, this doesn't really offer much privacy, and that's not something that I've been able to build into this. It's meeting rooms, so you might need to imagine that this would be on 2 floors. I don't know if I'll change it and make it into a second floor where your meeting rooms would be. But yeah, you've just got this idea of open plan office where you've got loads of desks, lots of people that would come in here. It would be a hot desking situation where you're not actually assigned a desk. You just sort of come in and use a desk that's available, and then go home at the end of the day. And you might not necessarily be based here. You just come in and do some work and go off elsewhere. And then you just got loads of storage all along the side here, and again cluttered it up with some pictures and whatever. I need to do the fine detailing, like the walls need some more details, and it needs some more like clutter. The desks all need phones and stuff, but it's coming together nicely on this one. So the next part I think is going to be this train station, get the train station done so that we can shore up this whole area then and make it correct on the sight line. So at the moment it's looking good from here. It's not too obtrusive from the guest car park. It's there, but it's not obvious. And likewise from the roller coaster, it's there, but it's not obvious. So you can see through it, and you get that detail on the sight line there. And I just need to find a way of hiding it from the train. So that's my next job. Do the train station, see if I can obscure the view here. And so I'll see you for the next update. Alright, so we've got ourselves a railway station, and we've got ourselves a penultimate update to go through as well. So this is the update before I go off and do all of the fine detailing of all of the work that I've done. Making sure that all of those little details are added in, things like flowers. Making sure that all of the road markings are in the right place, and all of that sort of stuff. And so the railway stations come across quite nicely actually. It's using that very traditional British railway station, like the rural railway station theming. The colours are very British railway station. It's that yellowy colour with the brown wood and everything. And then we've got all of the decorations that are going along the roof. So I need to thank the community for this one actually, because I posted a picture of the original railway station online, and there were a few sort of like tweaks that we could have made, or that I made to the railway station to make it look better. So thanks for the community for all of the suggestions on this one. It's come out actually much better than it was originally. I think the my favourite bit is this sign. So we can't do round edges easily in the game, so I've just done it as a squared off. But this is your traditional British rail sign for the really old Victorian railway stations. And actually it makes it look really nicely in place when it comes to the actual station itself. So just the same colour scheme, that brown and yellow, makes it pop out quite nicely. And then I've just put a bit of a more modern sign, railway, at the front here. We've also got our wood beams along the roof as well. So that's a theme that's continued right the way down the railway station. And then just inside we've got a few other like minor beams as well. These would be more supporting braces, and they would be feature beams. And then I just put a couple of like these brackets all along the wood as well, just to break up the monotony of the area. Kept this side very clear, other than the station name. This side is not going to be used in any way, shape or form. And then this wall here is designed to obscure the view of the backstage area and the warehouses that we've got behind. So it's doing that purpose quite nicely. And little known fact, you have to have a gap between the roof and the actual wall itself to allow all of this steam and the smoke and everything to come out of the sides. And that's why you tend to find that these railway stations, and especially in like theme parks and whatever, are open sided, because it allows the air to come through and it circulates the actual platform itself quite nicely. So that's what I've done here. I've built this idea in that we would need to have this airflow coming through here. So over here in the UK, obviously the weather isn't as hot as it would be in other climates, so we don't need queue covers and everything here. And so I wanted this railway station to feel like it was very much plonked on a concrete area. So I wanted this idea of the path continuing down to the railway station and then coming back again to the dividing line of where we've got the Centurion roller coaster. And I wanted this to be a big concrete pad as well, so it looks like it's all one piece of path. And then with your queue line that's been dumped on the top, so it wouldn't have any kind of effort put into it. There wouldn't be curb, there wouldn't be any kind of decoration. You might put a couple of flower beds and everything along here just to break it up a little bit, but you wouldn't necessarily put in curbs or anything that's more defining. So the idea would be that if they ever got rid of the railway, they could just get rid of the actual fencing itself, and then do away with it, and it becomes a parked area again, or paved area again. So that's what we're going for here. Just got a bit of an emergency hatch from here as well, so if you need to evacuate the train, you can get people out safely into the queue without having to get them to the station. Could be there's another train in the station, for example, so we've just got that emergency exit. And then we've just got the fences going along the side as well, just to make sure that we've got that split between the railway line and the actual path itself. And I've put in this gate, so we know that this at the moment is going into the backstage area, so we've now just got these little gates here. They just would open inwards or outwards and just let the fans and everything come through when the park is closed. Don't need to be anything more heavy duty than that. This is more than sufficient. The trains wouldn't be travelling fast enough to cause any serious injury, and fans and everything wouldn't come across whilst the park was in operation anyway, so nothing more heavy duty needed than that. So yeah, the actual train station itself, I'm relatively pleased with. It's going to look great when we've got all of the finer details. I need to put the gravel down on the actual railway line. I need to put the foliage all along here just to start hiding this backstage area, and then just bring a fence all along here just to sort of finish it out, and so we can bring this area together. The other thing that you've then probably just noticed is we've now got roofs on our warehouses, so everything on here is now topped off quite nicely, and I started to do some clutter in the actual area as well, just to give it that feel of a working area. Don't know how much more I'm going to do with this for the next update. I think this might actually be just about as done as I want it to be. But like I say, I've added in a couple of vans just to make sure that the width of everything is right. Added in a couple of parking spaces just to make sure that they're all right, and made a point of putting in the dust truck as well, the bin lorry, because of this gap here. I wanted to make sure that it could still get in and out. And then I've just put some propane tanks along here as well, so you would find this for like heating and everything in the area and stuff. This would be a roundabout. I've seen this in one of our parks as well, so this is an actual thing. And then just put some bollards around it just to make sure that they can't actually be driven into. And these bollards in real life, by the way, they are proper brutal. Like you can ram them with a car and they still stay in place. That's how good these bollards really are in real life. They're like, these are the ones you find in front of ATMs and banks and stuff. Stop people from ram raiding things. So this would very much protect the propane tanks and everything from any kind of accidents. And then your appropriate warning signs just around. I've done a mixture of TMTK signs, typical signs, and also the in-game signs as well, just because, you know, I'm finding that I'm using a lot of TMTK items and not much of the actual in-game stuff. So I think it's nice to use some of the in-game stuff, really. And then as part of the process of putting the roofs on the actual warehouses, I've also just gone along and put the guttering in as well. So all of the warehouses now have some sort of guttering on the actual flank sides of the roof. So at the lowest point, the water's going to collect and it's going to come down to the gutter. And then on some of the warehouses, I've also just put some air conditioning units in as well. So they don't really feed into anything. But I've just made sure that they're present and visible on the outside, and then I've just got the air vents as well. The air vents match up. And then on the actual inside of the warehouses, I put some lighting up. So we've now got some physical lights that are up in the actual warehouses. And then I've just tidied up some of the stuff, added in some more like cable stuff and cabinets and whatever. And then over in the other warehouse, I've just added in a couple of other TMTK items that I've grabbed. These seats again, I think these are hydro seats, just to give that impression that this has been placed down as and when rides are dismantled and inspected and everything. And then I just added in some like paperwork that's been strewn around and some folders. You imagine that this would be an engineer's thing. They'd have a load of checklists they'd need to go through. They'd have a system that they would need to record things like maintenance inspections and whatever on. So this would all be in this warehouse. It wouldn't be an office space. It would just be a let me just log it as and when things are done kind of thing. And you just find say folders and everything around. And then over on the other two, like I say before, I've kept them deliberately empty so that we can use them later on when the park is developed. But this is what the inside would typically look like, so relatively believable. Just put the the fire push points, so you can set the fire alarms off. And then our big warehouse is exactly the same. It's just got this roof, this intruding roof, and a really low. I don't know if I'm going to keep this actually. I've managed to find a beam that's slightly shorter than this. I think I might lift this up. But again, we're going to need to wait. Oh, there's the autosave. Right in the wrong point as well. Let me see if I can just... There we go. That's a bit better. Yeah, so I just need to find out whether I can maybe heighten that whole aircon unit so that it's a bit higher up. We've got a bit more space, a bit more clearance going on inside the warehouse. But on the outside, they're looking actually quite nice now. A couple of intruder alarms, a couple of bits going on, like the garage doors and everything. So it's coming on quite nicely. And on the sight line, it's looking good on the sight line as well. So if you look from here, once we've got all of the foliage and the trees and everything in, this is actually going to be quite nicely broken up. And I like the fact that they don't point over the tree, over the fence much. You know, it doesn't sort of peek over too much. And then when you take a look from the railway station side, the railway station quite nicely obscures the view as well. So it's looking positive in that aspect. So okay, that means then I'm going to go off and do some detailing. So I need to do all of the foliage around the outside of the car park, make sure that the car park is as I want it to be. Don't know if I'm going to put cars in the car park yet, or if I'm just going to leave it blank. It feels like that would be a bit of a waste of a piece count, given that we're doing such high detail. I don't know. I'm just talking as I go. But I definitely need to do foliage. Definitely need to make shore up this area. Definitely need to do the finer details here, and then come down to this car park as well and just make sure that's ready. But again, I don't really want to do too much to this car park until I know what's going to be here, until I know what the sight line in this area is going to be. So I might be able to leave that for a minute. Anyway, I'm going to carry on, and I will see you for the final one. Alright, so here we are with the final thing then. So I've gone around and I've done all of the detailing that I wanted to do. I've gone and made some executive decisions as well about some of the elements of the park, and we now have ourselves a whole new car park area, maintenance area, and also the railway station is all complete. So that whole side of the park is now drawn together quite nicely. So let's take a look. So I've taken the executive decision to not put the cars in the car park. Kind of figured that we're going to need to save piece count at some point, and those kind of pieces are best used actually in the park in some of the detail that we're doing, rather than wasted by using cars in the car park. Given that each car would be 5 pieces, you've got the main bulk and then you've got the four wheels. Cars have 4 wheels, and so yeah, putting those in the car park and just having that is just going to be a complete waste. I mean, we're already being quite frivolous with some of the things that we're doing, and I would rather do the detailing on buildings than I would to do detailing on cars. So I hope you guys understand with that one. But I've done all of the nature that I wanted to do around the car park, and I've deliberately left this behind here blank as well, because this is space that we can use if the park needs it. So we could potentially put overflow car parks, we could put second split level car parks and stuff. So I've not touched this behind here in case we're going to want to do something with it later on in the series. So for now it's just lined with a couple of trees, and then this side I've also put the poplar trees in as well, just because we use those quite often to line our streets, especially when it comes to decorative pieces. And I've also taken the deliberate action to not have plants and everything and flowers in this central reservation area. I did toy with the idea and I did have them in there, but actually it looked a lot better just having the mud, and as if the gardeners have just come along and decorated it, because we've got all of the plants and everything the other side. So you've got the main road that's being hidden now by a lot of nature, and then you've also got the main pathway that leads from the car parks right to the main entrance. That's now all lined along here as well with new planting and scattered planting as well. So it's all very random. I've kept it as natural as I can. So flowers are just growing in little patches, and there's a couple of like pruned bushes, but those pruned bushes are surrounded by a little bit of nature that's starting to take over. Imagine this would be like the height of spring where all the flowers in bloom and the trees are in bloom and it looks beautiful, and it's casting all of the shadows. And then I just put a couple of big trees around as well, just to make sure that we're dappling some of that sunlight and giving a bit of a sight line to the rest of it, so like a bit of obscurity. I've also checked the height clearance here so cars can get underneath this without any problem, and also checked the height clearance here to make sure that people aren't going to be smacking their faces with branches, because that does happen. We're about to fight with the autosave at the wrong point again. That's the problem we're using so many pieces, is the autosave goes absolutely mental, especially when you're in the middle of building. I've had some really quite long autosaves. So I've also along the pathway, I had already done this. I've scattered along these Raygate Lake entrance signs. So obviously you're in a massive car park and you're not going to know which way to go at this point. You're going to have no idea that the entrance is actually way over here. So all along the entrance points, all along the crossing points here, I've just made sure that I've put some kind of entrance signage to say go this way, and then it feeds and bleeds everybody down this way. I guess in reality you could probably have some kind of a bus shuttle if you wanted, or a tram, and this could be what this is used for, that you catch the tram and the bus from here and it then takes you up to the entranceway here, and then it turns around and then comes back and picks people up. But actually this is quite a short distance. I think it would be perfectly reasonable to allow people to walk, but the opportunity again is there if we want to introduce that later on. We could potentially do that. And so then again we've just got this meridian strip that's going down. It's a nice straight road, and again, as we were saying in the very beginning, you want the roads to be very straight because you don't want many obstacles in the way to slow the traffic flow down. You want people to be able to get in and out of the park as quickly and as easily as you possibly can without obstruction. So that's why this is mainly straight. And then you just have the same path, and then you go past the maintenance area. The maintenance area is relatively well hidden now that you've got the nature in, so the trees sort of distract you from the fence. I've altered some of the height of the terrain as well, just to give it a little bit of variation, and you can still peer into the maintenance area. And actually you see this in quite a few parks. So like Thorpe Park, for example, when you walk across the bridge, if you look down to the right hand side just before you go into the dome, you can see a massive maintenance area. They've made a thing of that. There's a massive sign on their side that says Thrills Workshop, but the same is also true at the likes of Alton Towers. So you walk past the monorail, if you're coming from the car park and you walk through the coach park, on the left hand side there's just this huge admin building. It's covered in green, so it's painted green and it's covered in greenery, but it's there, and there are points that you can look down and you can actually see right through into the maintenance area. So that's kind of where I've borrowed that inspiration of saying, actually, we can't really hide it. It needs to be here because it's functional. So let's just run with it and see what happens and hide it the best we can. And that's why we've got this little slip entry here. So we kind of carry on walking. I took the deliberate step to keep this clear. I didn't want this to be flowers. I didn't want this to be built up. I wanted this to be sort of a little bit sparse, but a little bit overgrown. Almost like the flowers here may have died away, or they may be a different type of flower that haven't grown yet, or whatever. So I wanted to keep that clear. And then carry on walking. So you've still got all of here. And this is the one thing I changed really early on. This is actually more functional than anything else. It's because this is a jagged edge. So all of this path cover that I've put in here has a jagged edge, and I needed to find a way of straightening off that edge and make everything make sense. So I just added this concrete padding just to almost hide it. But actually it works out quite nicely now that the areas come together. So yeah, I'm liking how that is now. And this would be the main entry point for all of your lorries and everything coming in here. and going into the maintenance area. These bollards would lower into the ground and allow the lorries to come through. And then, so we were already familiar with the entrance area. The other side of the car park, by the way, as I said, I'm not going to really touch because I don't know what's going to be here. At some point, we're going to need to do a hotel. And I don't know where the hotel's going to be, whether it's going to be this side, whether it's going to be this side. We need to do rides and everything around this area. So, and we're going to need to change the landscape because this isn't going to be a completely flat park. So I just want to see how the park develops over time before I develop this side of the actual car park itself. So we come down then to our entrance again. So there's our entrance plaza. Made a few changes. I've just taken out some of the old bins that I'd forgotten to take out in previous builds. So obviously we were using this style bin. And so I've just taken out some of the old bins and just made sure that everything's consistent. So we come into the business lounge. We know the reception already. This was in episode 1 or 2. I can't remember which one it was. But now we come into the finished office. It's now got a roof. So here we go. We've just got the kitchen on the right hand side, quite nicely decorated. And now we've got a bit of like dappled light. This is looking quite good. This is pretty much how I wanted it to look. Got a bit of a social communal area, and then you've just got your seating area in here just to chill out as you do during lunch and whatever. And your scream to go faster motif on the wall. You then got your office space in here, so this is where your admin staff would be, or your HR staff, or finance staff, or whatever. And I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. When you look into it, it now actually looks like it could be an actual office. This is pretty much how my office would look, or representative of how my office would look that I work in at work. So I'm quite pleased with this feeling. It gives off an office feeling, unlike the other ones that we've got on the ticket booths, which are just there and dumped there because they've got space. This feels like it's planned out to be an office. It's intentional as an office. So yeah, this has come out quite nicely. And then as you keep walking, I've just put some more motifs around. You know, just this idea that when you're in a theme park, it's supposed to be fun. So I've just put the vintage stuff around because it's fit for purpose. I don't think we're going to get a chance to use it in the actual park anyway, so it's nice to actually use it for its unintended purposes. This bit of a hot desk area. Hot desk areas tend not to have much effort to them, so because they're hot desk areas, you don't have filing cabinets and stuff. They're just designed for people to be able to come in, do stuff and go. They're not actually permanently based anywhere. So, and then I've just kept the main decoration, colour scheme and everything in here as well, just to keep it consistent. So we've got the panels, and we've got the grey, and we've got the blue. So yeah, just keeping all of that design consistent. And then we come out into the yard. So here's all of our bins. So the bin lorry, the truck, whatever you want to call it, would come over here. Just done some work around here just to make sure that this is a bit more consistent with how this business reception looks, and it's now joined up. So whereas before you would have had to have come into the park and then into the back, now actually once you're backstage, you can just walk from one building to another, and it's nice and seamless, nice and done. So we've got our propane tanks here. We've seen this already, no changes here. And now we've just got our maintenance sheds. Again, these are just cookie cutter, as we've already said, just the cookie cutter as they go along. Inside here being the retail one, so you just got all of your clutter and all of your stuff and everything around, with a slight office space for your retail staff. This is where they would live. And then you've just got the other maintenance shed, which has got your clutter in for your inspections, for your ride inspections and everything. And the other two are still empty, so we know that already. So yes, there's our maintenance area, and I'm actually really pleased with like this view, for example. It fits, like it's comfortable now, whereas before I didn't know how it was all going to sit on that landscape and how it was all going to fit together. But now I've built it and designed it in such a way, in this way, it fits and it feels comfortable. It feels like it should be there. It feels like it's got purpose now, whereas it was just a bit of a dead area before, and I was just kind of hoping that it was going to turn out all right. But actually, yeah, like I say, it fits. And then over at the railway station, I've just done some more work. So I'd originally made the concrete padding finish sort of here, but I decided to actually bring it forward and actually have it come up to the brick, purely because it meant otherwise we had this real short period, this short bit of distance of just weird concrete path, and I didn't feel like the park would do that. It would feel like that the concrete pad would start here and it would end over here, and then this would be the railway bit. Just put some clutter around, so I've just put the picnic benches and everything in here. I mean, nothing really much has changed with the railway station. I put in an electric point over here, but looking at pictures of other railway stations or other railway rides in parks, you don't tend to have many facility type stuff in these buildings because it's all steam trains, so you don't rely on electricity, you don't rely on technology, you don't rely on much. It's just, yeah, there, it's done. But these are beautiful. So I think this is Hydro's gravel, and I've seen Jeremy use it in Discovery Gardens for the side of the path. This just makes the railway look so impressively good. It just finishes it off. Whereas before I'd paint the terrain underneath it, and it kind of gives that impression that it's real. This just gives it another dimension, which is this third dimension of actual gravel, and it's recolorable as well. So if you wanted to have it stained or a different color or whatever, then you can. And I've just chosen to make it look like it's just been relaid and just new, because this concrete looks quite new. So I just wanted to retain that. But I think this is one of my new favourite views of the entire park. This view here, the sort of walking across the level crossing, looking down into the train station with the gravel in front of it and the stuff growing around it, and the maintenance places behind it. It just like it frames it off just quite nice. And then the other side, I've done the same. I've just continued the gravel underneath the station as well. Continued the gravel right up to the tarmac where it crosses as a level crossing, and then continued this across here. And then I would obviously need to at some point just put the gravel down this way as well. And then the final piece that I need to do with this park, but this is going to be more episode, probably the next episode actually, is the lake. It's called Raygate Lake, and at the moment we've gone 4 episodes and there's no sign of any kind of lake. So what I want to do, whilst we're waiting for this autosave again, what I want to do is have the actual lake coming up to this line of the path. So I kind of figured that the lake would be here, and it would be quite close to the path, and you'd have a few sort of features along the way where you can go out and you might be able to look into the lake, you might be able to see fish or whatever. And then the actual park itself would start to come down this way, and you'd have rides and attractions and everything down here. So what I'm thinking is the lake would be here, and you would have some sort of flat ride thing area with a junior coaster in this kind of vicinity, just because it's quite close to the front of the park and for the kids and whatever to play with. So I think that's going to be the next episode anyway, dealing with the lake and dealing with the whatever attractions are going to be here. I think it's time we start to do attraction-y type stuff, because this is 4 episodes, and I'm wholly expecting people to not be interested in episode 4 because it's all the back of house maintenance-y boring stuff. You know, it's not very fun to watch somebody do a car park, is it? But anyway, on that delightful note, I really hope you have actually enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, because say I didn't know that if I was going to be able to make any content out of this kind of thing, you know, the more offices and warehouses and stuff. So let me know what you think. If you want to know when episode 5 comes out, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel, and then ring the bell and whatever, and you'll get notified. Leave a like, leave a comment, do what you need to do. Love your interaction, guys. I really do. Especially when I sort of ask for help and you guys just come up with the most amazing ideas. So thank you so much for all of your support and all of your interaction. Really looking forward to seeing this for episode 5. And more importantly, I'm getting it ready to release to you guys so you can have a play with the park yourself and see how things are built and pull it apart and everything. So watch this space for that. Anyway, until we speak later, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you at the next episode.